Hello, respected viewers. I'm George from Ireland. So this war in Ukraine has been going on for a baker's dozen of days, and there are yet more diplomatic contacts between the two belligerents. So some progress appears to be made. President Zelensky says that he's open to compromise, and he could be persuaded to recognize Crimea as belonging to Russia, to recognize the independence of Luhansk and Donbass, and so forth. The thing is, we know that obviously this would be preparatory to the absorption of Luhansk and Donbass into the Russian Federation, because this even slipped out at that Russian Security Council meeting right at the beginning of the war, where one of the people in Putin's inner circle said, he was asked, do you agree with this? He says, well, yeah, absorbing them into the Russian Federation. Putin said, no, nobody's talking about that. I mean, recognizing them as independent. So obviously this is step one, recognize independence. Step two, absorb them into the Russian Federation, whether officially or unofficially. That's what's happened to Abkhazia, South Ossetia, because no other sovereign state recognized them as independent, I think, except perhaps Syria. And so you can't travel on those passports. They've all been issued with Russian citizenship. They have their own nominal armed forces, but these are all puppet states. And obviously Putin wanted to do the same thing with Ukraine on a larger scale, find his own Quisling, and that was it, because it's almost 8 years since his honcho in Kiev, Viktor Yanukovych, was ousted, and there was talk, was he going to be brought back? So Zelensky's still in Kiev. There's talk of a US Special Forces mission to rescue him, but how do you do that? Because if you bump into the Russians, you're going to start shooting them, and then is that the Third World War? So I don't know how they do it. It would get him in and out. It's a hard sell. So he's only been valiant staying in Kiev, and he's rallied the resistance. Had he fled, maybe morale would have collapsed. But if he's killed or he's captured, then that would also be disastrous for morale. But Putin has said he's open to compromise, that he wants Crimea, Luhansk and Donbass to be recognized as not part of Ukraine. The idea of regime change seems to have gone. It was a measure of how poorly that Russia is performing. 12 days ago, we were told that Volodymyr Zelensky was heading a Nazi administration. All of a sudden, he's not, according to Putin. What a remarkable improvement Zelensky's undergone in a dozen days, just by military prowess, demilitarization. One thing even Zelensky said, he realized that NATO is not going to admit Ukraine, and it is not. So, as they say, never pay for something you're going to get for free anyway. So NATO could make that concession because they weren't going to let let Ukraine in any time soon. Because whilst Russian troops are occupying Ukrainian soil, then the NATO cannot let Ukraine join, because that could lead to the Third World War. Because Ukraine said, well, we're under attack, you've got to help us, we invoke Article 5, go to war against Russia, a nuclear exchange. And if NATO doesn't honour Article 5, well, then its raison d'etre has disappeared. Because if it's an attack on you, they have to help you. If it's a war of choice, like Iraq, they don't have to help you. The no-fly zone won't fly, as they repeatedly said, because declaring it is no good, you actually have to enforce it. But how badly is the war going for Russia? They've only taken one significant city, Kherson. They thought they were going to take Kiev within 48 hours, and some Western experts said likewise. Well, they still think they're going to take Kiev, just going to take a bit longer. I said it would be within about 5 days from now. Hey, I would be elated to be proved dead wrong. I'd far rather be totally humiliated than Kiev fall to the forces of oppression. As I say, I've not been a military person for a single day, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But I do see some factors actually turning in favour of Russia over the next few weeks. They are going to sort their logistical problems out finally. And one of these cities is going to fall. Is it going to be Kharkiv? Is it going to be Mariupol? I don't know. But they may summon more forces. And of course, the ground is going to dry out. There won't be restricted to roads and some of these vehicles, which are not all-terrain vehicles. On the other hand, sanctions are going to bite, but I think not enough to make them stop the war. To misquote Macbeth, if you're halfway across the River of Blood, it's less effort to carry on all the way across the River of Blood than to turn around and go back. So Putin, started this war. So many thousands of people have been killed. You might as well carry on to have something to show for your losses, and indeed the losses you've inflicted. Kind of the sunk loss fallacy. Otherwise, it was all for nothing. And they have gained a small slice of land, but it's cost them easily $600 billion in terms of what the sanctions have done to them and their equipment that's been destroyed. And $600 billion